Okay, let's get into the album swap discussion. This week, I am 4 stages deep into the 5-week run on these Wu-Tang Clan solo albums. I'm going to be talking about GZA's Liquid Swords album. For this week with Zay, last week it was my daughter's choice. Now he's got 2 more. They're both my choices, and I decided to go with the Ice-T Body Count project and the Body Count album because it does have a little bit of a historic quality to it. So we're going to get into both of these records. Who's going first, Zay?
I'll go first.
Okay.
Unfortunately, people, we cannot play anything of Body Count.
No.
For obvious reasons.
Not really, no.
And also, they don't have Body Count instrumentals. So what you're hearing right now, instrumental from Ziploc on Ice-T's original Gangsta album.
Okay.
So that's the best we could do.
Yeah, this is not what Body Count sounds like.
Nothing like what Body Count sounds like.
Nope.
It's all good, though.
Yeah. No, we got to stay safe.
Yeah, got to stay safe. Got to
All right.
keep a job.
So what did you think, Zay?
Nuts. Absolutely nuts. The fact that album came out in 1992, knowing Ice-T, who he is now, especially as Finn and SVU.
Yeah.
So going from Body Count, cop killer, to Finn, cop detective, SVU, incredible. The range that Ice-T has. Ernie C., the guitarist, both those guys from Crenshaw, went to Crenshaw High School. They became cool. And
dude, Ernie C. can shred.
Ernie C. could really go. And Ice-T said that going to Crenshaw High, Ernie C. was the only brother that knew about rock and roll and metal and knew how to play a guitar. And he self-taught himself, Chad.
Yeah.
That's nuts.
That's crazy.
That's insane.
Yeah.
And Ernie C. is a big fan of Jimi Hendrix and guys like that. So, they formed the group. They realized that what they were talking about, a lot of labels were scared. But
no. Really?
But with Ice-T's success, somebody took a chance on them, and that's how you got Body Count. Songs like KKK Chick. Let's say KKK Chick. We know it's KKK B.
Yeah, well done.
Bow to the Devil. There Goes the Neighborhood. Voodoo. And then Cop Killer, which isn't on the album anymore due to how controversial it is. I really enjoyed the album. Now, the worst part of the album for me is, ironically, Ice-T.
Really?
I thought Ice wasn't the best. I thought if that was somebody else and it wasn't Ice-T's name, it wouldn't be a good album. But the fact that we know it's Ice-T, he doesn't really have a rock voice. He's kind of just talking the whole time. Like, KKK chick, it kind of flows, but then there's moments where it doesn't at all. You feel me? He
was trying to figure out how to do that job.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, he was stuck somewhere between, and that's kind of where the album is sometimes too. But I agree with you. It's not the greatest frontman performance you've ever heard, and I'm certain I've never listened to an Ice-T record other than this one all the way through, but I'm certain it's not his best work as a frontman. He did feel like he was trying to sort of figure it out.
I think the timing for it was big because came out a little bit after the Rodney King incident happened.
Yep.
And what they're talking about on the album, they're talking about a ton of political and social issues and racial issues that you would hear on an Ice-T rap album, but he's bringing it to rock. So now a whole different genre of music is experiencing that life of what went down for Black youths and people of color in the inner city of Los Angeles that dealt with things that NWA was talking about, but didn't listen to NWA because they weren't trying to hear no rap. So yeah. I thought that they changed the game and just different aspects. And yeah, I could see why it's a cult type of album.
Yeah, it is that. There's an importance to the album, and you just kind of laid it out there very well. With NWA doing what they did before Rodney King, almost as theirs was almost a warning of what might show up. And this album talked about, okay, now see what happened?
Yeah.
Do you see what happened?
Y'all believe us now?
Exactly. Do you see what is going on? So I thought it was, there's some important records there for showing you a picture of what may be going on in his world. Because Ice-T doesn't just get up one day and casually write a song like some of these. I mean, these are really intense, crazy, angry songs. And I didn't realize it had been taken off the record either. Cop Killer is not on this record anymore. There's another track at the very end. You can't find it on Amazon Music. You can't find it on Spotify. If you go to YouTube, you can find it. That's how I found it the other night as I was listening, because I wanted to listen through to it the way it was put out.
Right.
But I never realized that. Ice-T and the band chose to take it off. Nobody did it for them. They did this. They decided the controversy had been bigger than the band, and they wanted to kind of let it be its own thing. There's a live version, apparently, that's out there from the 2000s. But for those music fans that didn't know that, they took the song off of the album. We've seen artists doing that in a lot of realms of pop and some other stuff, going back and taking out insensitive lyrics, changing lyrics. Beyonce, Lizzo, and believe it or not, Taylor Swift come to mind for me that have literally gone back and changed lyrics.
Yo, they had your Aggie alum, George H.W., the president, call it sick.
Oh,
That's how much attention it got.
Oh, dude, they were. Oh, man, this album got hated on. Oh, it got hated on in a big way.
But then when you listen to the album and just the different cuts and stuff that he has on there, and he's talking about the statistics, hey, there's more black men in prison than there are in college. In 92? Yeah. Saying stuff like that, like that's
yeah, it's very heavy.
It's heavy for sure. I enjoyed it.
It is, really and I think there is a discussion there for there is a discussion of where is that line between artistic expression and hate speech, and where does it fall, and where would an album like this fall? But I do think there's a message there. Again, there's a message about what was going on in 1992. I don't think it's done in just a haphazard, sloppy way. But you bring up that greatest irony of all, that he then goes on to have a career where he's playing a cop in a TV show for years.
He's Finn,
it's
the
crazy.
Legend.
It is crazy. But for the rock and metal world, there's a lot of credit to this album for bringing those two things together, because that band was getting after it. Ernie C is amazing on guitar. The drummer gets a little sloppy at times, but can play so fast. This is like 2 years after Pantera, and this really gets into a very intense type of metal that was there. So Body Count in 92. And my favorite quote that I read from this, and again, if you want to get into the art discussion here of the freedom of speech and art and all that, Ice-T was asked about it, and he goes, look, I've never killed a cop. He said, I'm not telling you I've never thought about it, but I've never done it. I am not a cop killer. If you think I am a cop killer because you listen to this album, then you also think David Bowie is an astronaut. And I thought that was about as brilliant as you could phrase it. I'm like, yeah, okay, there you go. All right.
Yeah, he preaching on that one.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Like, Mama's Gonna Die Tonight. Like, that's hilarious.
That is that song still blows me away today. Like,
yeah.
Whoa.
Evil, Grady Dick. Great song there.
Yes.
I mean, Ice pushes the limit.
And if you've never heard Ice-T try to sing, there is a song called The Winner Loses on this album.
That's trash.
He tries to sing.
That is trash.
It doesn't go well. All right, so what's your overall grade?
Ernie C said, white kids were scared of the devil. We were scared of the streets. 7.5.
Okay. All right.
7.5. Again, Ice wasn't the best. He was good enough.
Yeah.
And I think just because he's Ice-T, this gets a lot more credit than maybe if it was just some Joe Schmo, being a new band, being thrown out there talking about the stuff that they did. But I thought, as far as the band goes, the band was a 9. Ice-T was a 5. Put that all together, I get 7.5.
No, I don't. I think you're.
And what they talk about, 7.5.
Yeah, I don't mind your math at all there. I kind of think that's probably about right. Just because it's controversial doesn't mean it's a great album. And listening through it again, I would not call this a great album. So I might give it a similar grade, actually, to you there. In fact, like I've never listened to what's the 2 Live Crew record? As Nasty as They Want to Be? Is that what it was called? The one that got him in all the trouble in Miami?
They had a lot.
I think it was called As Nasty as They Want to Be. I've never listened to that record all the way through, but in my mind, it might not be fantastic. When I get to the end of it, it might be like, okay.
Yeah, especially in 2023.
Yeah, like,
how they used to talk about women and stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think I'll probably agree with you there. All right, so
what did you give it? You give it a 7.5 too?
Yeah, I'd go around there.
Okay.
Yeah, like maybe a high C. It might get, I mean, I might be able to argue it towards a B, but no, you're about right. I think you're right in there. There's some good tracks there, but overall, I don't know if that's a great album, but it's an interesting album. It is certainly an interesting album. I'm glad I re-listened. I don't know when I'll listen again, but it is there. All right, now on to the Wu-Tang Clan and the solo albums. This is the one where Zay told me to get my thesaurus ready, get my dictionary ready, and this is a really interesting project for me because the fact that it's called Liquid Swords puts one thing in your mind. The cover is incredible. It just hit me today as I was reading through and looking at it again that the cover takes place on a chessboard. I didn't realize that. I had to re-look at it.
GZA's really big in the chess.
There's a chessboard. Yeah, so there's
and RZA.
There's a chess reference here, and then this album goes into a really high level, mental place in terms of the writing, the presentation, the way RZA lays it out. The first song that grabbed me is Gold.
Oh, he kills that
on this album. So I had to write this down because there's no way I could do it any kind of justice. But the No Neighborhood is rough enough. There's no clip that's full enough. I can't fold. I need gold. I re-up and reload. That whole way that rolls is so good. It's so good. And it's the first thing that caught me on the album. I can see how this would be a record that you listen to over and over. And I would say this about all the Wu-Tang stuff I've listened to. You can listen over and over. You're going to hear something different every time. Just really high level, well thought out. And when you go from the song Liquid Swords to Duel of the Iron Mike, that's a great song. Living in the World Today is good. Gold is great. Cold World is good. Labels, then Fourth Chamber, then Shadow Boxing. That's the first 8 tracks. That's a hell of a run. Yeah. It is a hell of a run. Investigative Reports is a good song. That bonus track of Basic Instructions Before Leaving Earth.
Yeah, the Bible.
And then that's
just Killer Priest, by the way.
And that's And is this the first time I would have been introduced to Killer Priest, or has he been on other?
He's on the first album, 36 Chambers. I don't know which song.
But he's not on the individual albums.
He's on somebody's.
Dude, I
can't think right now.
I'm trying to keep up with this is like trying to keep up with how many people are on stage at like an Earth, Wind, and Fire show. Right. They got so many people, but there's so much talent to it as well. It was really, really good. Swordsman, I Got Your Back is the way that the album ends, but it was so smooth and just it's perfectly named. RZA I saw a little interview where he talks about he called it Liquid Swords for a reason. He wanted it to flow like liquid metal. That was the way he looked at it. And the way this album starts with that little, there's clips from some offbeat samurai movie that they all love. Right. That little clip at the beginning of that kid talking about his father.
Isn't that eerie?
It's magnetic. It is incredible. What a great way to start an album. I'll never forget where I was standing when I heard it. Like, it grabs a hold of you and it gets you in. So Zay, I don't know if you're going to endorse what I'm about to do. I was going to go with the exact same grade as Cuban Links.
I feel that.
I may notch it up a little bit.
I'm with it.
I may go like 9.2 here where I went 9.0 flat on Cuban Links. I'm going to go 9.2 because it's a little smoother. It's a little more, it's more intellectual. There's a higher level to it. I feel like RZA's going up another level, so I'm going to give him a little higher grade. I'm going to say 9.2.
I'm with it.
It's a good record.
I love this album. It's a close second with Cuban Links for me just because I love Raekwon and Ghost's chemistry, but... Yes. Man, what GZA did on this album, the things that he says, the wordplay. He has one rhyme on Liquid Swords where he says, because brother styles are old like Mark V sneakers, lyrics are weak like clock radio speakers.
That's a good one.
It's like, dude, what?
Yeah.
What?
I heard the clock radio speakers. That was well done.
Yeah, and he says, like, this isn't even his best work lyrically. He said this is his best album, and he knows that just because he knows RZA was on point.
Everything put it together.
And RZA will tell you Cuban Links and Liquid Swords are the only 2 albums where everybody just left him the hell alone.
They got out of his way.
He didn't have an engineer. He didn't have another producer. He had
Right.
nobody behind his ear saying, you should do this, you should do that. He was able to just go in his basement and work.
That's right. The basement studio.
His girl left him. I'm watching season 3 of the Wu-Tang biopic. His girl left him during this era so he could really focus because she saw, I see what you're trying to do. I can't be with you. You have no time for me. You might say you do, but you don't. And their chemistry, GZA is amazing. I'm good with 9.2.
Man, it is.
I'm good with that.
There's also songs on there that'll get better the more I listen to them. Again, Gold grabbed me first, and then Cold World is really good. But like the song is hard to remember the title of. But track 9 is called Hell's Wind Staff / Killer Hills 10304. That's hard. That's hard to remember. That's a good song though.
Yeah,
it's a really good song.
So GZA, he's not from Staten Island like the rest of them, even though he was there all the time because him and RZA are cousins, and they're all Dirty Bastard. They're all 3 cousins.
Okay,
so they were always in Staten Island. He's from Brooklyn, and you could tell it's different than the rest of the guys, and that might just be the wordplay, the vocabulary, like you said, just the intellect. But
because this
is
so
much different than the rest of the crew. He put everybody on like the religion, like the 5%, which is kind of the, I'm not going to say knockoff. That's not the word, but it's a different type of Islam.
Oh, okay.
And they have their own like 10, like mathematics, they call it, of these 10 steps that they all go by, and they call each other God. If you recognize that, they're saying like God in their lyrics and stuff. It's fascinating. So it's kind of what makes Wu-Tang.
Yeah. So and then the GZA thing, is he the one they refer to as the genius? That's the other name, right?
Right.
So that's kind of where the G, and then he's got his own the logo that's on the album cover is great. We ended up with 2 albums this week that have really cool, like, animated covers. Yeah. The Body Count album is scary as hell if you haven't seen that cover. Yep. And this one's great. I couldn't stop looking at the cover of Liquid Swords.
Go listen to Labels again and see how many rap labels he talks about and says in that flow and makes it all rhyme. Because he starts early by saying, Tommy ain't my mother effing boy. Which Tommy Boy, they're the ones that had De La Soul.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay.
And he starts talking about like all these labels and stuff because he had bad label experience. He had dropped the album before Liquid Swords. What's it called? Anyway, he had an album with them and it didn't work out because they wanted to make him like a ladies' man and he wasn't with that. It's GZA. Like, he ain't no ladies' man. Like, come on. So he just completely disses multiple labels and makes it flow. Listen to that song. I love that song.
Yeah, no, I'll check that out again. There's some really good, there's great stuff on there. All right, so there you go. The album swap with Liquid Swords and Body Count. So next week, we hit the end of the 5-week run, and we're going to keep going past this, but we started with the idea of having 5 albums outside of our comfort zones for each of us to listen to. So next week, I'm going to finish off the Wu-Tang Clan run with Ghostface Killah's Iron Man album. Yes?
Yes.
That's the last one?
Now, technically, there's a 6th album.
Okay.
That's a part of their run, which is a 2-disc full Wu-Tang album called Wu-Tang Forever. We're not going to make you listen to that.
Not going to make me listen to that.
That's like 20-something songs.
Okay.
We need to get away from Wu-Tang.
We're going to stay away from that one.
We need to get away from Wu-Tang. There's been a lot of Wu-Tang these last few weeks.
And then next week, Zay's going to finish out my 5 albums, the 5 albums for him. I had 3 choices. My wife and daughter have had their choices. But next week, Zay's going to take a little journey through the 2nd best-selling album of all time. He's going to go from Hell's Bells to Rock and Roll Ain't Noise Pollution. He's going to get some Back in Black in the middle. He's going to get You Shook Me All Night Long. He will experience the poetry of Giving a Dog a Bone and maybe Giving the Dog a Bone. Is that the title of that song? He'll figure it out. Zay's going Back in Black next week with AC/DC.
All right.
That's going to be interesting. That will be interesting. So we'll do that next week, Thursday at 2 o'clock, the album swap discussion. And we do like talking some music around here.